I actually went through the agenda overnight for the Board of County Commissioners, and it says in it that they plan to get an update tonight. Let's talk about why this is such a big problem. Just take a look around. You can see the amount of damage that was done. But we do know that this fire broke out shortly before midnight in the Hidden Valley neighborhood in Northeast Charlotte. So I wanted to go ahead and check and see how deep that it's getting. So we have here on the curb a few places I haven't stepped. And you can see these long lines of cars. These are people all lined up to get tested. If you follow me over here to our Channel 3 news car, the first thing that I did this morning before I even left the station was check that tire pressure. This is the water main break right behind me, and if you look just next to it, you can see these businesses. We have a nail bar, we have a juice bar. I just got this press release into my email inbox. I'm telling you what it says and the update we just got from police here on scene. This morning, we continue to follow the very latest on the situation in Ukraine. We know disaster response specialists from the Boone-based Samaritan's Purse will be headed to Poland and Romania. There have been 115 justices on the U.S. Supreme Court. All but 7 have been white men. A black woman has never been nominated until now.
I would never live in this neighborhood as a blind person.
Walk down Oakdale Road. There's no sidewalks for us to walk on. Well, try to walk down Oakdale Road, and you're not going to make it far.
What are you going to do?
Crumbling, disappearing, and blocked sidewalks. No marked pedestrian crossings.
I would generally assume in most cities that if I find a crossing point on one side of the intersection, that there will be something across the street when I get there. In Charlotte, that expectation is often disappointed.
The closest bus stop? Over a mile away. For Bradley Blair, who navigates the world without his eyesight.
Yes, I do a great deal on foot.
This part of Charlotte can only be safely navigated with the help of a sighted person. Here we go.
What you don't have is your own autonomy to make your own decisions.
As of 2017, 34% of sidewalks were missing along Charlotte thoroughfares and 54% on non-thoroughfares. According to the Charlotte Walk Plan, a document designed to improve walkability in the city, the lack of infrastructure is attributed to the city's boom in population and car-centric design. The city wants to change that.
It's the right thing to do.
Terry Bradley is the City of Charlotte's American with Disabilities Act coordinator. He says the city has a plan in place to tackle community accessibility. First, through the Americans with Disabilities Act transition plan. Part of this plan would identify physical barriers like the lack of sidewalks and bus stops and address how accessibility can be achieved.
This is a civil rights that everyone has to ensure that they have access to services.
Second, through Charlotte's 2040 comprehensive plan, where a major focus is the ability to access goods within 10 minutes by either walking, biking, or skating to your destination. These are also called 10-minute neighborhoods.
All Charlotte households should have access to essential amenities, goods, and services within 10 minutes. That's whether you're using some mobility device, walking, or whatever transit that you're choosing to use.
But until either of those plans go into effect, people like Brad will need to hurry up and wait for the city to catch up.
Lileana Pearson spoke to a doctor who shares why it's important to bring awareness to the disease.
Still the second leading cause of cancer-related death in women between 20 and 40, and I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Dr. Wendell Nauman is a gynecological oncologist focused on the prevention and early detection of cervical cancer. He's working to prevent the more than 1,400 new cases of invasive cervical cancer the American Cancer Society predicts will be diagnosed in 2022.
When people ignore their health, that's when they get into trouble. And you know, it's important to not only get vaccinated for, the normal things, but get vaccinated for HPV.
The best form of prevention for cervical cancer is the human papillomavirus, or HPV vaccine, which should be given between the ages of 11 and 12.
Now, there are so many women who could avoid having an abnormal pap smear.
You get 2 doses if you're under 15 and 3 if you're over 15. It's 90% effective, and not only does it prevent abnormal pap smears, it's also proven to prevent neck cancer, vaginal cancer, and vulvar cancer. And of course, regular pap smears help with early detection and prevention. Science has improved dramatically, and women with an average risk of cancer only need a pap smear every 3 years. I'm Lileana Pearson, WBTV, on your side.
Lileana joins us now here in studio to talk more about this incredible advancements obviously being made, saving lives every single day. It's incredible. I did want to ask you, though, a little bit about those pap tests and how often you're supposed to get them, because it does vary, right?
It does. So as I mentioned before, the average woman right now has to get one every 3 years because of medical advancements. Before, it was very common. Once a year, you got 1 pap smear. Granted, once every 3 years isn't going to be the case for every single woman. If you have a history of cervical cancer in your family, if you are more prone to it, you're still going to want to get it once a year. The average woman once every 3 years, but there's some cases even where you only have to get it once every 5.
Important conversations to be having with your doctor so he understands your family history. You talked to a survivor as well, right?
I did. She was diagnosed when she was 30 years old. She had a hysterectomy. She went through chemo. It was a very long journey for her. She says that how much it just changes you as a person. She's a healthcare provider herself. So she got to understand both sides of this journey a little bit, and she actually shared with me what it was like to be so young and to walk into a doctor's office with a cancer diagnosis.
You know, at the time I was in the middle of my career, I was married, I had this whole life established. So at that age, it's not really something that kind of crosses your mind that that's going to happen to me.
That's just it. It just intervenes on its schedule sometimes, and you have to be prepared to handle it.
Absolutely.
You're going to have more on this tomorrow morning, correct?
I am. So tomorrow morning, we're going to hear from the doctor again. We're going to be hearing more of her personal journey, what it was like to not only have cervical cancer, but find out 3 years later that it had actually moved to her lungs and she had a second battle with cancer.
Such an important story, important topic. Lileana, thank you. Make sure you check out the full report tomorrow morning. Again, Lileana, thank you.
Thank you. According to the CDC, every 36 seconds, an American dies from heart disease. So let's take a look at this map from the CDC. It shows the death rates across the U.S. between 2017 and 2019. North and South Carolina reporting more than 300 deaths per 100,000 people. But there are a couple things that you can be doing to improve your odds of suffering from heart disease. First is exercise. Spend 30 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week moving, and just make it something you enjoy. It can be walking or gardening. You don't even have to track your heart rate. Just do something that makes your body feel like it's putting in some extra work. Next, stay away from things like smoking and vaping. Finally, try to eat things on the outside of the grocery store.
So every grocery store I've ever been to is the exact same. You walk in, you see the produce, you walk to the back, you see the meat and the fish and the other proteins, and then on the outside you see the dairy case. In the middle is a lot of processed food. So the more you can eat on the outside, so that's fresh fruits and vegetables, that's lean proteins like chicken and turkey and fish, and then dairy products and eggs. Those are great for you.
And Dr. Leo says that mental health also plays a big part in your heart health. We all know the impact that the pandemic has had on your mental health the last couple of years. So healthy mind, healthy heart.
Yeah, wow. Good information there, too. Something we really need to think about every day because it's so important.
It's easy to set it to the side, but it should be at the forefront of our minds.
Absolutely. These conversations that you should be having with your doctor just every time you see him makes it a little more easier to keep track of what's going on.
Lileana, thank you.